Okay.
And then finally, items 5 and 6, Z 2022-133 and 134, known as Lake Pleasant Storage. Those items need to be pulled from the consent to the regular agenda.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's go ahead and move into our consent agenda items then, if the staff would like to present the cases.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, those are Z 2020-049, known as Brown RV and Boat Storage in District 1. It's a special use permit for RV and boat storage and a carnival business storage, as well as semi-trucks and trailers in the Rural 43 zoning district. This would be an interim industrial use category for a validity period of 10 years. There is no known opposition. The recommendation in paragraph 25 is for approval, subject to conditions A through H. Z 2022-035, known as Caliber 4 Points EDR in District 1. This is application of a CUPD overlay to the C2 Commercial Zoning District for a 7.6 acre site at the southwest corner of Elliott and the I-10 freeway in Ahwatukee. This is to allow for development of multifamily residential and other potential mixed use for adaptive reuse of an existing 6-story hotel building. There's no known opposition. The City of Phoenix did provide a letter with comments, and those have been worked largely into the conditions of approval. There is one letter of support. The recommendation in paragraph 12 is for approval, subject to conditions A through I.
Thank you for presenting.
Oh, I still got
Oh, sorry.
more, sorry.
Keep going. Thanks for correcting me.
Third of 6 items is Z 2022-129, known as SQF, and a bunch of other letters and numbers. In District 4, it's just a special use permit for an 80-foot high wireless communication facility with an 18-foot diameter antenna array in the R16 zoning district at the northwest corner of Bethany Home in Perryville. There's no known opposition. The recommendations for approval, subject to conditions A through F in paragraph 13. The fourth of 6 consent items is Z 2022-174, known as Crown Castle 806982 Buckeye in District 4. This is a special use permit related to a wireless communication facility in the Rural 43 zoning district. It's essentially a 290-foot high lattice tower and a 25-year validity period for a site west of the southwest corner of Buckeye and Miller in the central Buckeye area. There's no known opposition. The recommendation in paragraph 25 is for approval, subject to conditions A through O. Z 2022-179, known as 202 and Country Club SR 87 Billboard in District 1. It's a special use permit for the conversion of billboard to digital face, and along with an increased height for a site northeast of Country Club and State Route 87 in the North Mesa area. There's no known opposition. The recommendation is for approval in paragraph 11, subject to conditions A through G. And finally, Z 2022-180, known as Beers Property Voluntary Rezone CHCT in District 1. This is a request for commission initiation of a rezone to Rural 43 REPD. There's no known opposition. This would be similar to all the Chandler Heights Rural 43 REPD that were originally approved under Z 2005-006. So this is an opt-in to that zoning district. The recommendations for approval in paragraph 14, subject to conditions A through K. And that concludes the consent agenda. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. At this time, are there any questions by the commission for staff? All right, hearing none. I'm not aware of anyone from the public that's indicated they want to speak on any of these items. So at this point, we can discuss as a commission or entertain a motion. All right, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Montoya. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a second by Commissioner Dan Zeisen. Oh, was that Swart? Sorry, Commissioner
Yes,
Swart.
sorry about that.
Thank you, Commissioner Swart. We'll go ahead and do a roll call vote.
Commissioner Lawrence?
Yes.
Commissioner McGee?
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Swart?
Yes.
Commissioner Arnett?
Yes.
Commissioner Montoya?
Yes.
Commissioner Dan Zeisen?
Yes.
Vice Chair Slasher?
Yes.
Chairman Lindblom?
Yes.
Chairman, we have an approval by a vote of 9-0.
All right, thank you. Let's move to our regular agenda items. If staff would like to present the first case.
Thank you, Chairman Lindblom and members of the Commission. Case Z 2022-133 and Z 2022-134 are for Lake Pleasant Parkway storage. Case Z 2022-133 is a request for a zone change with overlay from Rural 43 to C2 CUPD for an indoor self-storage facility on parcel 201-16019C. KC 2022-134 is a request for a special use permit for RV and boat storage on the same parcel. Next slide, please. The subject site is currently zoned Rural 43 and is located on a county island in the Peoria area. The property is currently vacant, comprises approximately 4.4 acres, and is located on the east side of Lake Pleasant Parkway, about midway between Pinnacle Peak Road and Happy Valley Road. The site is surrounded by Rural 43 zoning to the north, east, and south, and to the west of the site is Lake Pleasant Parkway, followed by the Candeo School, both of which are within the city of Peoria's jurisdiction. Next slide, please. So the site plan shows the proposed indoor self-storage building as well as the RV boat parking canopies. The self-storage building would be 1 story plus basement storage with a maximum height of 20 feet. The requested CUPD overlay includes 3 variations to the base C2 zoning regulations. The first being to reduce the required number of parking spaces from 126 to 26. The second being to reduce the required number of loading areas from 5 to 1, and the third being to restrict the allowed use on site to self-storage only, with the associated RV boat parking to be allowed with the SUP. The parking and loading area reductions are justified by the low number of trips generated by the proposed storage uses. Likewise, restricting the uses allowed on site to self-storage and RV boat storage ensures minimal commercial impact to the surrounding parcels. Next slide, please. So staff notes that there had been patent easements along the east and south property lines. Abandonment of these easements was approved by the Board of Supervisors, so only a small portion remains as a road and utility easement with a proposed fire access easement extending to the north. There will be no public access to or from Mariposa Grande, only secondary emergency access if fire authorities request. Public access to the site would be provided exclusively via Lake Pleasant Parkway. As this arterial is within Peoria's jurisdiction, the applicant will be responsible for coordinating with them to review any requirements for right-of-way access and dedications. Staff notes that there has been public comment received since publication of the staff report. Staff received comments from Peoria in which the city expressed concerns regarding the fact that self-storage is not a use consistent with their general plan land use designation of the site as rural residential. However, since the site is within county jurisdiction, they are requesting additional conditions of approval to which the applicant has agreed. Since the publishing of the staff report, staff has also received 22 signatures from area residents petitioning for opposition to the cases. The petitions state general opposition. Nonetheless, staff is of the opinion that the proposed self-storage and RV boat storage uses are appropriate for a site located adjacent to a principal arterial. The low number of trips generated by these uses, as well as the proposed C2 CUPD development standards and the incorporation of conditions recommended by the City of Peoria, ensure that the project will have minimal impact on the surrounding community. Therefore, staff recommends the Commission adopt a motion recommending that the Board of Supervisors approve case Z 2022-133, subject to the revised conditions A through J as outlined in the handout memo. Staff also recommends the Commission adopt a separate motion recommending that the Board of Supervisors approve case Z 2022-134, subject to conditions A through F as outlined in the staff report. At this time, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Great presentation. Any questions at this time? All right. Hearing none, I'll go ahead and we have a lot of new people here today that may have not been a part of this process, but typically we will hear from staff on a report. We'll have the applicant speak. Then we allow the public comment side of it. We close public comment, we speak as a commission, and then we vote on it. Usually after public comment, we allow the applicant to come back and talk about any of the concerns they heard during that. So just wanted to explain that process real quick. But we'll go ahead and at this time then hear from the applicant. He'll come forward.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Richard Starr. I'm with Garrett Development. We're the applicant. We're a local developer. We've built 4 ground-up new storage projects in the Metro Phoenix area, and we have 3 more under construction. I want to thank staff for the staff report. I think it's fair and summarizes the project very well. All the conditions of approval are acceptable, so we're not asking for any changes there. So thank you. I have a brief PowerPoint that I just wanted to run through, show the merits of the project, and then I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great.
Okay. Okay, so the first slide's there. This is just a reminder of what we're asking for. This is the zone change to C2 CUPD with the overlay, and then the special use permit for RV. Next slide, please, there. Here are the highlights. So it's located on a major arterial street, Northwest Peoria area. The use, indoor climate-controlled storage, is a neighborhood use. It's pretty quiet and generates low traffic. We wanted to highlight that it's a neighbor-friendly design. We've made it a single-story building. It's only 18 feet tall, so it's only a couple feet taller than maybe the peak of a single-family roof. We've made several design changes per initial conversations with some of the neighbors, and then wanted to highlight that the rezone includes some restrictions that it's for self-storage only. So there can't be a drive-through or any other C2 uses that might be available in the county. Next slide, please. Okay, so here's a map. So of course it's located on Lake Pleasant Parkway. It's south of Happy Valley, north of Pinnacle Peak. There are a variety of non-residential uses up and down Lake Pleasant Parkway. You know, I've noted some of them there. The one thing we did want to highlight, there are some non-residential uses that could be developed on the site as is without any entitlements. So those might include a church, a school, post office, a government building, a utility building. Next slide, please. Just another aerial map showing a little farther north. Of course, there's the huge commercial core there at Happy Valley and Lake Pleasant Parkway. You know, as a developer, we think that this site, whether it's a storage building or a different project, is going to attract attention. It probably will get developed in the near term, and it could be some of those uses that I noted earlier. We're in escrow to purchase the property. Our seller's noted that he has gotten calls from, say, like charter schools that are asking to buy the property. Some of those uses might generate a lot more traffic or noise than our project. Next slide, please. So this is some general notes on indoor self-storage. The industry's evolved a lot since the 1970s, 80s. This is an indoor building, climate controlled. Some of the older outdoor projects, you know, were different and might have attracted different types of tenants. We've tried to make it more like a retail feel on the inside. Will be managed by a national firm. The design includes security, access via a keypad and behind a gate only. All storage units are inside, and then there's restrictions on what the customers can store. Again, storage is a low traffic generator, and the customers sometimes leave the goods there up to 6 months at a time. So there's not a lot of ins and outs. Next slide, please. Here are some of the things we've done to try to make it neighbor friendly. It's a single story building with a basement. It's only 18 feet tall, as I mentioned. The Lake Pleasant side is going to have an attractive, like an office-like look. And then, as staff noted, there'll be no through traffic to Maricopa Grande. So it's one driveway from Lake Pleasant in and out. There'll be no spillover back into the neighborhood. Next slide. Okay, some more, sorry. We've raised the wall up to 8 feet on the north, east, and south sides. There'll be a 25-foot landscape buffer. Some of the residents asked for additional screening of the RV canopies, the vertical, to kind of shield the look. And then we wanted to note that the building is located between 212 and about 400 feet away from the closest residents, the closest homes. Next slide, thanks. Here's the proposed elevations. Wanted to note that it's kind of neutral tones. And then, the west elevation faces Lake Pleasant. That's kind of what we're shooting for, is like a professional office look. Next building, please. The next slide, please. Here's our site plan. You'll see the landscaping that I mentioned, the 8-foot wall. The building's kind of located in the middle with the single driveway on Lake Pleasant Parkway. Next slide, please. Here's an exhibit that shows the location of the building with the distances to the nearest homes. Okay, next slide. Here we've noted some of the changes we've made. We've raised the perimeter wall to 8 foot. Was requested that we move the RV parking from the north property line to the south property line. That's next to the Islamic Center. We've added the additional screening, vertical, and then we've added additional landscaping along the perimeter. Next slide. Here's just repeating the request. It's for self-storage only, no other permitted uses. As staff noted, we're asking for only 26 parking stalls. That's kind of consistent with what other municipalities require. Only the single loading zone, and then the special use permit is just for the RV boat parking. Next. I wanted to provide a couple other examples of self-storage buildings in the vicinity of residential. So here's two projects in North Phoenix. Here's at Tatum and Union Hills. These projects were much closer than our project. So the one project on the left there is as close as 53 feet. Next one, please. Here's two more, North Phoenix and Scottsdale. Both of these projects are 120 feet, 105 feet adjacent to residential, and then two more examples, please. Buckeye and Phoenix as close as 95 feet, 89 feet away. So I guess I want to emphasize storage is a quiet use. The customers don't visit the site that frequently, and we're hoping that it fits in well with the neighborhood. Next slide, please. Okay. I'll sit down, but I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
All right, are there any questions for the applicant at this time? All right, hearing none, thank you. We do have one person who requested to speak, Mel Smith, if you're here. Come up and, good morning, if you'll just state your name, and glad to have you here.
Good morning. I have hearing aids, and I didn't hear a word he said, and I apologize. I'm trying to get them adjusted, but it's very difficult. Thank you, Commission. I've been fighting zoning up in our area for 20-some odd years. I've lived there 27 years, and the last 20 years, we used to fight every case, and I kind of gave up. When this one came across my desk, I said, no. I said, the gentleman talked about the beauty of the building, the neighborhoods, the fencing. No one's talked about the traffic that I could hear anyway. This is opposite Candale School. If anyone's been up there at 8 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it is a zoo. This traffic will kill somebody, okay? My opinion, my neighbors, I try to get this submitted earlier. I guess we don't have the way to get this in front of you, but there's no of all the neighbors. I think there's 14 key locations. We have 9 out of the 14 are no's. There's only 3 approvals. The others we weren't able to get an answer from on a short period of time. So everyone's concerned about the traffic. And I hope I have some more time left. I don't know if you're timing me, but
yeah, just another minute would be great. Another minute is good.
I don't know if I could do it.
Yeah, all right, I'll give you 2.
Okay.
All right.
I represent 20-some-odd people.
I'll give you 2 more minutes.
I have to tell you a story. We suffered a tragedy. Recently, my granddaughter passed away, 20 years old. She was a star softball player. She helped take her team to the Nationals 2 years ago, James Madison University. It made national, international news. For the cycle of the news, 3-4 days in the newspaper, TV, radio stations, everywhere. I asked my daughter, I said, when we're discussing a lawsuit against a school, who wants to do that? And my daughter said, I do. I said, why? She said, no one has to suffer this that we went through. So I tell you, someone is going to spill blood on this corner. I hate to say it that way. It's too damn dangerous. Why? Our society has changed. You think those people pulling their RVs and motorhomes into this project give a damn? They don't. The kids in school, you know kids with a car, 20-year-old driving a 2-ton weapon. They are going to crash in this corner. If you look at it, I don't know where the, anyway, there's not enough room. The acceleration lane, the deceleration lane, I don't see it on here. You know, I don't know if the traffic engineers have approved this. And one of my last comments is on the documents today, it indicates that it's 2,100 feet north of Lake Pleasant Parkway, but it's 300 feet south of Calilejos. You cannot turn those vehicles around. There's going to be U-turns and someone will die. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, I did have a question.
I just have one issue. Did the gentleman want to present the paper to the board? I'm not sure if he understood he could do that now.
Yeah, you're welcome to present that paper to us if you would like to do that. Thank you.
I did have a question.
We have a question for you too, Mr. Smith, if you'll come up. Vice Chair Schlosser has a question for you.
Thank you for your presentation, and the chairman asked for your name, but we normally ask for the name and address. Do you live near
my
this
name?
project? Your address?
Yeah, 23834 North 97th. I'm just southeast of this project.
Okay.
I
All right.
kind of look out my backyard and there it is.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, I don't believe there's any others that have requested to speak online. Nope. All right. Then we'll close the public comment. If the applicant would like to, yeah?
Does the applicant want to speak again?
Yeah, that's where I was headed. Thank you. Would the applicant like to come up? Does he want to maybe address those issues of Mr. Smith? You don't have to. I'm just giving you the opportunity.
Hello. So the right-of-way, Lake Pleasant Parkway is a City of Peoria jurisdiction. We had one pre-app meeting with the city, including the traffic engineer. Our traffic engineer.
If you'll just speak in that mic a little bit heavier, that would be great, so Mr. Smith can also hear who was having troubles.
Lake Pleasant Parkway is a City of Peoria right-of-way. We had a meeting with City of Peoria. Their traffic engineer was there. Our traffic engineer prepared a brief report. A decel will be required. City of Peoria made it clear. It'll be a right-in, right-out only turning movement because there's a median, and there'll be a 150-foot decel lane into the project.
So no way for them to turn left out, they only can turn right, and there will be a decel lane.
Correct. The existing median stays. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we'll close public comment. Thank you, Vice Chair, for helping me. We can discuss this amongst the group. Vice Chair?
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
I guess first of all, thank you, Mr. Smith, for your comments. I guess my thought is if I was an adjacent homeowner with this use as compared to if it was a multifamily or built for rent or even a single family residential subdivision, there would be much more traffic. And if I had my choice between a residential use or even an industrial type use with large trucks, the storage facilities that I'm aware of, I mean, there's a lot of users or clients that come in there, but they're not lined up to all come in and out at the same time. So I don't see traffic as an issue, and I don't think I've ever used this word in a public meeting, but it seems like a benign use to me to have this type of use here, so I'm in support of it. So thank you again.
Any others? Commissioner Arnett?
Maybe a question for staff. Remind me, so the applicant even talked about more aggressive uses. That's assuming we get the zone change, right? And so it says approval is based on the narrative, you know, whatever it was, the Lake Pleasant.
Right, and as part of the CUPD overlay, as part of the requested variations from the development standards, the CUPD would in fact restrict the use on the parcel to the self-storage use only, with the SUP, of course, allowing the RV and boat storage as well, in which case if any future applicant wanted to propose a more intense commercial use, even if it were to conform to the C2 standards, they would have to come in for further zoning entitlements.
But would it revert the zoning back, or would it they would just have to get over that hurdle? So it's contingent upon that zoning. So essentially, if they don't do a storage unit like they're proposing, significantly, you know, adherence to that, then it goes back to 43. Is that correct? Am I understanding that correctly?
Mr. Chairman.
I should know this by now. Here we go.
Commissioner Arnett, the zoning that would be entitled would be C2, subject to those development standards, except the entitlement, the list of entitled uses is shrunk to those allowed by the CUPD. In order to have any other type of use, they'd have to come in and amend that CUPD. So that could be done.
So technically, it's a zoning change, but they'd have to amend a new narrative, for example.
Correct.
So anyway, you see where I'm going here is, I like the fact that we're limiting the more aggressive uses, but does it get them one step closer if someone else was to do this or they weren't to build it? So I just the question. I thank you for answering that. But I do like the less aggressive use and the less traffic. Traffic's a problem, quite frankly. If a school or church does go there, we have a big problem there. I'm not showing you where I'm at on this, but I appreciate that. I appreciate that clarification.
Mr. Smith, were you able to hear those things that were spoke? Were you able to hear that?
I'm sorry.
He was raising his hand, so I just was curious if he was able to hear.
Somewhat.
Okay. All right, we've closed public comment, but what was being said, and I'll just repeat it a little bit louder, is that what we're approving today is the C2 CUPD 2?
Yes, the C2 CUPD. Okay.
Yes, that, with conditions that this is a very limited commercial scope of just self-storage and RV boat storage. If someone potentially down the road wanted to change, you know, what they were doing on that property, they would have to get that reapproved. What we're approving today is just for this. So I just want to clarify that. In this process, we don't go back and forth with people in the audience, but I just want to make sure that you hear what we're saying. So I'm just being a little sensitive to that. So with that, if there's any other comments, or I'll entertain a motion. Yeah, Commissioner McGee.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to follow up on Commissioner Arnett's point that are there stipulations in the conditions themselves that would, you know, ensure that the use of the property, I'm missing that point, and I think it's probably the most important point that's been made as to further uses of the property and an incremental step towards the higher traffic volume than what this storage facility will have.
Yeah, that's what the CUPD is, right?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner McGee, that is correct. The CUPD can be applied to any commercial zoning district. It's a overlay that can be applied to any commercial zoning district, and it can deviate the development standards or limit the entitled uses. And in this case, that's what was occurring here.
Condition B has that in the CUPD.
Condition D would tell you what standards have been deviated. And condition E,
It's,
D4 indicates the use of the site shall be limited to self-storage. So to entitle any other uses that would be allowed under C2 zoning, they would have to come in and rezone this property, amend this CUPD. Essentially, we may call it a STIP modification of conditions, but it would be public hearings before this body and the Board of Supervisors.
Correct.
Public hearing and public notice.
thank you.
And if I may.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, staff. That gets me there.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Well, I was going to put it in language we all speak rather than plan it if you wanted me to.
You don't
but
need
that's
to. We don't need to beat this horse. Yeah. All right. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Vice Chair Schlosser.
I'd like to make a motion to approve case Z 2022-133 with conditions A through J. Those are the correct modified conditions, right? A through J.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Do I have by Commissioner Schlosser? Do I have a Vice Chair Schlosser? And a second by Commissioner Montoya. We'll do a roll call vote.
Commissioner Lawrence,
Yes.
Commissioner McGee,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Swart,
Yes.
Commissioner Arnett,
Yes.
Commissioner Montoya,
Yes.
Commissioner Dan Zeisen,
Yes.
Vice Chair Schlosser,
Yes.
Chairman Lindblom.
Yes.
Chairman, that's an approval by a vote of 9-0.
All right, thank you. And thank you to those that came and spoke today. We will move on to.
We need to make a motion on the CPU,
Oh, thank you.
SUP case.
Thank you. Yeah. Go ahead, Commissioner Vice Chair.
Make a motion to approve the next case Z 2022-134 with conditions A through F.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Vice Chair Schlosser and a second by Commissioner Montoya. We'll do a roll call vote.
Commissioner Lawrence,
Yes.
Commissioner McGee,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Swart,
Yes.
Commissioner Arnett,
Yes.
Commissioner Montoya,
Yes.
Commissioner Dan Zeisen,
Yes.
Vice Chair Schlosser,
Yes.
Chairman Lindblom.
Yes.
Chairman, that's an approval by a vote of 9-0.
All right, thank you. All right, now we will jump into our next agenda item, number 11, Z 2022-086, Marco's Auto Repair. Mr. Cannon is going to present on that today.
Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. Adam Cannon, Planning and Development. Case Z 2022-086 is for Marco's Auto Repair in Supervisor District 5. Next slide, please. The site is zoned rural 43 and approximately 2.3 acres and located southeast of the southeast corner of Lower Buckeye Road and 166th Avenue in the Goodyear area. Next slide, please. The request is for a special use permit for an interim industrial use auto repair business in the Rural 43 zoning district, and that would allow for an auto repair business to be operated from a residential property. Staff is recommending approval of the request based upon the scale of the proposed use and the amount of neighborhood support. An auto repair business is a common type of business that, when appropriately scaled, can serve neighborhood automobile repair needs. The applicant has made a good faith effort to notify the public as part of their citizens participation plan. There are 18 individuals. We did have a couple of late letters, one that came with the handout and a couple others that will be included with the report to the board, who are in support, and several within 300 feet of the property boundaries. And then there are 4 individuals that expressed opposition. Concerns included noise, air quality, and residential character of the neighborhood. There are a number of documents included that relate to civil matters in the report.
that were requested to be included that staff won't comment on. One of those is a block wall that's under dispute. A block wall is required around the property perimeter, but staff doesn't wade into the issues of where that is located or not. The applicant is requesting to vary the parking standard to limit the number of parking spaces required to 8 spaces, including the 2 required ADA spaces. Staff is in support of this. Limited parking spaces in a residential business does preserve neighborhood character. Lastly, staff is recommending a 6-year time frame for the SUP approval so that future impacts can be addressed. As of right now, the status of this SUP is interim industrial. It's expected that the applicant will locate to the property at a point in the future, in which case they would need to switch their SUP to a home cottage industry because there's a maximum for interim industrial of 10 years, whereas a home cottage industry can be renewed. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Cannon at this time? If not, we'll hear from the applicant if you're here. Applicants. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Danielle Malanche.
Marco Malanche.
We're the owners of Marco's Auto Repair. We'd like public to go ahead and speak, and then we'll speak afterwards, if that's okay.
If you want to save all your time to that, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. All right. We'll go ahead and start with public comment. I just ask that we're civil through this, and seems like I've watched some videos of some things happened here in other cases, and we just are better as people. So let's be good today, please. I don't expect any bad behavior, but I don't tolerate it. So let's go ahead and hear from our first speaker. We'll go through this list and look forward to hear from you. We'll allow 2 minutes per person, and just come up, state your name and your address if you would, please, and then go ahead and we'd love to hear from you. We'll start with Ray Yukatis, and then the next will be Pam Freyermuth. So Ray, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. My name is Ray Yukatis. I'm a resident of Goodyear, 16807 West Washington Street. I come to speak in support of this proposal. I just want to speak on behalf of Marco's character. I've known him for over 10 years. He has both serviced and maintained my vehicles. And I know that his shop, it has, in my humble opinion, has very, very little impact to the community. He's conscientious. He is a pillar of the community, in my opinion. He's very helpful. And as stated earlier, you know, finding a reputable mechanic who is trustworthy, I think my relationship with him and the people that are out here in the audience speaks for that. So I just encourage the board to vote in favor of this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Freyermuth. And then next will be Scott Pratt.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Made some notes. I've known Marco for probably 15 years as a mechanic, I first met him, he said that, well, we met through somebody that was referred to us. They were an auto parts store employee, and she had told us if Marco can't fix it, it can't be fixed. And that is true. A lot of what you're gonna hear is gonna be repetitive, I believe. Marco told me how he came to work for himself. He worked for another company, and he was reprimanded for not upselling, for not requesting parts that were not needed by the customer. And that was his last day, he said, working for someone else. He said he would not be able to look in the mirror if he treated people like that. And I do believe him. He's always been thoughtful of the community. He works 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, some hours on Saturday, never on Sunday that I know of. So he's always respectful in that way. Like they mentioned, he has a block wall around his property now, a very nice block wall with nice gates that are around it. There's no parking outside of the property because you have to make an appointment to go and see Marco for repair. That way he keeps the traffic minimal, one in, one out. Once you're behind the block wall, there are professionally built gates, bays, you know, that the cars go into. They're not hanging out on the street. I just want to say that he does guarantee his work. He offers alternative choices if there is one. My daughter needed her heater repaired on her car, and he said, yes, we can do that. The part is $300. Or when the weather changes, come on by, I'll manually switch it for you, and it costs nothing. And that is what we did. That's not my phone.
No, that's just a timer. It says your time's up, but just wrap up your thoughts.
I will.
Yeah.
I will wrap up by saying.
Yeah, we're not going to just cut you off. We'll ask you to just wrap it up.
I will end by saying I have a family member who's a mechanic, and I only go to Marco.
Ma'am, can you give us your name and your
Sure,
address?
I'm sorry. My name's Pam Fryermuth, and I live in Goodyear also.
Your address?
Mailing address, will that work?
Physical?
I don't know that we require.
Okay.
It's more just so we know. Isn't that correct? Just kind of where they're at and close.
Correct.
Yeah.
They're not required to provide.
Yeah, we're not trying to intimidate you with where you live and make you give your public information. and I'm not saying Commissioner Montoya was. I've always wondered that same question. That's why I just
asked, and that's why I asked.
Yeah, no, but it's mainly just so we know kind of where you generally are and around. That's great. Goodyear's great.
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you.
Council just reminded me that when the folks come to speak, they should state their name on the record.
Great.
And as a side note, I've noticed a lot of jurisdictions just simply ask what community a person resides in.
Perfect. Let's do that for clarity, and we're not, yeah. Hey, thank you. Appreciate it. All right, Mr. Prest, come on out. If you'll state your name and the community you reside in.
Yeah, Scott Prast. I live in Waddell. For those of you, I'm out past Luke Air Force Base. I'm 7020 North 183rd Avenue in Waddell. And this is the first time I've been a part of anything like this. And I just got to say, it's very, very professional. You guys are terrific. Thank you. Thank you. And I saw that you did, the recommendation is to approve. I don't know that I could say anything beyond what these folks have said about Marco's character and the kind of man he is. But I've got to tell you, when I've been there, I'm kind of a car guy. And those of you that are, car people and appreciate what he does, has anybody been to a dealership lately and got your bill? It'll kill you. I mean, it'll just knock you out. But one thing that Marcos does, he provides such a critical component for the community. His clientele is very diverse, young and old, all walks of life. And his prices are very fair, keeps a lot of people on the road who otherwise wouldn't have that option. And I've seen him do this. And I said, one day, if I win the lottery, I'm just gonna pay you to just help people. Just help people and let them live their lives. But I can't get into fences and the height and the noise. I know he's very sensitive about noise and cars idling and things like that. But from a character standpoint, he is just awesome. It's a good man. And if that means something in this world, he's a good man. So there you go. So
thank you.
Hey, that's it. But hey, happy holidays. Thank you for letting me come.
Thank you for your time. Gary Sturm. Is there a Gary? Am I reading that right? Gary Sturm?
The name's right, it's the wrong case number, I guess.
Oh, okay. No problem. Is it the next case coming up? Okay, thank you. I'll put that aside, and if I forget you because I put you over here, just make sure you speak up when your case comes up. You help me remember that.
Sure.
I just totally delegated that. All right, Emily Gonzalez.
I'm here for support but not to speak.
Okay, support, but it does say that. Thank you. Support but not to speak. Also, Arceli Schaefer is the same, support but not wish to speak. Vicente Ramirez, the same. Deborah Cox, the same. Did you wish to speak? Okay, come on up.
I don't know if you'd like to hear me.
We're going to help you.
Hi, my name is Deborah Cox, and I live in Peoria, Arizona at 12503 North 85th Lane. And I need Marco to be able to have this business. I drive an Audi A5, and without Marco, I would not be able to drive that car. So, and that's literally all I wanted to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'll just make sure. Joan Wheeler to support but doesn't wish to speak. Okay. And Ashley as well. And then Jose Ogwin also. All right, thank you. He didn't want to speak but was here to support. So to my understanding, that's everyone who wished to speak on this case. Is that correct?
Online. We have online.
We have some onlines. All right.
We have a lot online.
All right. Let's do it. How many?
I have a whole bunch of raised hands that I'll try to get to as well.
How many do we have out of curiosity?
15 to 20.
Okay. All right. Just what I would ask those that are listening that are online is that if others have said what you're going to say, it is what we would prefer is that you say, I support what's been said, and it's been said. But if you feel you have something extra to add, please do. So let's go ahead and start with the first one.
The first person I have is Daisy Garza, and I have her. She should be ready to go.
Hi, yes. I am going to close that one. So we are in opposition. We're the direct neighbors affected by this.
Could they state their name again? Could just if.
Daisy Garza.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we've heard character support from his clients. However, we're not here to talk about character, and if that's what it is, we've also seen the other side of Mr. Malanche. He has actually insulted us because we've been trying to take photos to document to the county about how it's an auto repair business in a residential neighborhood. The name itself, that means that there's cars coming in, and it's not set hours. It's, at midnight, he's working on the vehicles, and due to the grading of the properties, his property is actually above ours. So if you step on his land, you can see into our house because our house has glass windows and glass doors in the back. You cannot, we were gonna set up a backyard with a pool and stuff like that, but you cannot even step foot outside because anybody on that property can see into ours. Someone in support mentioned a block wall, and she didn't specify where the block wall is that he put up, but that's on the west side of the property. The block wall on the east side is one that we put up that's, about 10 inches into our property. So it's not dividing the property, it's actually inside of our property. And because of the grading, the block wall is actually still too short. And again, this is out of our pocket, out of our cost. That wall is too short. So anyone that steps foot onto this auto repair business, you can ask them. You can say, hey, what's in their backyard? They will tell you because you can visibly see, someone's in the kitchen making breakfast or whatever it is. And like I said, it's not set hours. It's at every time of the day. There's no privacy. And if you look at the history, so Marco's Auto Repair, they actually lived in the Vanderbilt community. They weren't able to open this auto repair business in an HOA community. So therefore they sought out an area that isn't HOA governed, which is why they bought here. We've owned this land for 20 years. If you look, we are the owners for the last 20 years. It hasn't been an HOA governed area. They sought out this property with the purpose of putting in this business. And yeah, it's just like I said, everyone in support are clients that use it. But if you ask, 15 people are in support, that means 15 people have seen the interior of our house, have seen what we have in our backyard. All these people that have used his business know exactly what kind of cars we drive, can look into our living room when we're watching movies. We have pictures and videos that show, like I said, because we're lower on the plot of land, anyone that's a minimum of 5'5" has direct access, direct view into our home.
Right.
And so if, it sounds like I said, if it's on the agenda to be approved, we are requesting that Mr. Malancha install his own block wall on the west side of the property with a minimum of 8 feet in height with a wall of trees to cover so that we are afforded some sort of privacy. Like I said, the current block wall on the west side of the property actually belongs to us and it's within our property boundary.
Can I stop you real quick? I heard you say a minimum 8 foot, but I didn't hear what you said after that.
Oh, with a wall of trees to cover as well.
Okay, thank you.
And then we also request that the permit be reviewed and updated every 2 years to make sure that the county proposal requirements are being met. Just because this business has been ran. So if you look if you go to the business, the Arizona business search, his business has been in business for a long time. He has never, applied for a commercial license, which tells us that, the laws have been bent a little bit. Maybe the guidelines haven't been, he hasn't tried to meet the guidelines. And that's why we're requesting, hey, you know what, if it does get approved, every 2 years, this permit needs to be reviewed just to make sure that everything is being met on his side.
All right, thank you. And I let you go long because you're a direct neighbor next door. Just so everyone else listens, doesn't think I'm going to let every one of them do that. So
Thank you.
you bet. It's important we get your perspective, I think.
And just FYI, every neighbor, so we owned the 5 acres directly related. Every house that you see, we have built. We've owned all those acres. We had to sell them because of this issue. We were renting them and our renters were having issues. So we sold these properties and we only owned one house, but all those houses directly on the west side, we owned all that land. We built those houses. Those were all houses owned by us that we ended up selling because we were just having so many issues with the auto repair. Our renters were complaining. They were leaving. So we just sold the house so we wouldn't have any more of those issues.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for this speaker? All right, thank you for your time. Appreciate it. We'll go to the next speaker.
So I had Guillermo Garza set up to speak in opposition and he just dropped off.
Okay.
So if he comes back, I'll loop him back. But the next one is Joy Whitlatch. He's unmuted. Go ahead, Joy.
Yeah, and I think it's important also to note that and this last speaker mentioned it, that we're here to approve uses of what's appropriate use for this. And so those that speak, it's good to know the type of person this individual is as well, but we're also listening to make sure that this is, creating the right balance within the community and not disrupting all those around and all of those kind of things. So just keep that in mind as you present your thoughts.
Yes, this is Joyce Whitlatch, and I actually live on the property. I live in the front house closest to Lower Buckeye Road. And then behind me is Marco's Auto Repair. Yes, I speak to their character. I believe that they have great character. They're professionals. They work with integrity. But my issue is the complaint of noise and air quality and hours of work. I'm a professional. I work from home. They work 8 to 5, sometimes less. They do not work at midnight. I have 2 small dogs that would alert me to anybody on the property after hours. These people do not work into the night. And the air quality, I'm also, like I said, a professional. I work from home. If it was bad air quality, I wouldn't be here. I've lived on the property since the property was purchased by myself. And then when all of this started, because I'm on my computer 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, I'm not able to answer to all of the issues with the county and that. And I took my name off of the deed. And so the land belongs to Marco and Danielle. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Next speaker is Margaret Spiegelmeyer. Margaret, you need to unmute in order to speak. I don't know, maybe she's not able to hear.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, you're on.
Thank you for the opportunity. I have been a client of Marco's for 4 years now, and I can tell you he has unbelievable character and work ethic. Marco does not work at midnight. He insists that you don't arrive before 8 o'clock and that you pick up your car by 5. I would encourage you to go out and look at the property. The property, he has raised the wall. It is a 6-foot wall around his property. You cannot see into anybody's backyard. I have been there dropping off my car and seeing that individual who was taking pictures over the wall, taking pictures, doing stuff. The place is absolutely immaculate. I think this would really, I would encourage you to go out and look. There is no trash, there is no garbage. He pulls the cars right in. There are 2 driveways on either side of the house. The driveway on the left might impact the people that are living there if they hear the cars. I would encourage some modification whereby people would use the driveway on the right, that you restrict the hours. If they wanted trees planted, I'm sure that he would be able to do that. This is a man who makes a living working on vehicles. He's a very honest man. He reports every dime to the IRS. Everybody starts somewhere. This is the trade that he knows. I don't think it would be any different if I stood in front of my house and changed the oil in my car. He is immaculate. I really would encourage you to go and look at the property and see. He didn't know about the permits. He's learning. He hired an attorney that got very expensive. I work for attorneys. I know how that can be. And I would encourage you to try and work with this gentleman to maintain the business, to work well with the community. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. And just for clarification, that was Margaret Spiegelmeyer?
Spiegelmeyer, yes,
okay,
sir.
Okay, thank you. Our
Next is David Ross.
All right. And a reminder to those speakers, please just state your name and the city in which you reside.
David, you're unmuted. You should be able to speak.
David Ross.
We can hear you, Mr. Ross, if you wanted to.
Okay. I've been a customer of Marco's for several years. We found him to really be a professional, reliable, economical man. And honest, I had an auto repair business in California for a few years. And Marco is, I wish I had him as a mechanic because he's been so honest and and really knowledgeable about his work. I was commenting, he's only open from 8 to 5, sometimes on Saturday. And the west side of his property is a vacant field. Now, I'm sure the woman was speaking in opposition, was referring to the west side of her property perhaps. But being there, there's no way you can see over that wall into their living room or see what they're doing. Not unless you get up on a ladder and look. Anyhow, I'm in support of Marcos, you can tell that. But I've been a customer for a few years and we've been very happy with every bit of service from Marcos. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Next up is Marco Antonio Malanchi, I think. There you go.
Hey guys, this is Marco's son. I'm in support of what everybody else in support has been saying about my dad and his auto repair business.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Next up is David Sweet.
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Mr. Sweet.
Oh, thank you. No, I'm just in support of Marco. I've been using his service. Oh, sorry, David Sweet from Goodyear. I live in Goodyear.
Awesome job. Well done. I'm just going to give him a well done. Yes. All right. Well, I'm definitely listening to what you have to say because you're listening to me. All right, here we go.
David Sweet, Goodyear. Been using Marco since 2010. I just reaffirm everything that everybody's already said as far as being, the positive side from Marcos Auto. The one thing I can tell you from my personal experience in all these years, it has always been call first, make an appointment, to limit all the traffic in and out one at a time. So thank you. I won't waste any more time.
Thank you. That was excellent. All right. Next speaker.
Next person up is John Patton. John needs to, there you go, John.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
We can.
This is John Patton. And I also want to request your support and approval of Marco. The wall and that he did remove trees on the front of the property. People who are turning into the property or leaving the property, you have a Lower Buckeye Road now. I've been there a number of times and I've never seen the lady was talking about. I know there's a wall on that side. Never had any issues, looking back there and attempting to. But and just real quick, I just want to say, I recently AutoZone to try. I needed to have a headlight replaced. I couldn't put my to the socket to get that removed, and the AutoZone people normally can do that kind of stuff. They also couldn't do it. Couldn't get their hand in to get the bulb removed. But when I went to Mark, he was able to remove it. And he said, "This is very expensive," and there was like a bulb at AutoZone. He said, "If you get it online, it'll be here in 2 days." And so I went and looked, and he was absolutely right. It was actually less than half price. And he, installed the bulb for me, and he said, "Hey, have a great day." But it's just that kind of experience, that kind of treatment that the customers, and so I absolutely request your support and approval of this request.
Thank you. Next speaker, if you'll list your name and where you live, that would be great. What city you live in?
Next up is Doug Curry.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Hi, good morning. My name is Doug Curry. I live in Avondale, Arizona, in the Corte Sierra area. I also have known Marco for over 20 years. Our daughters played soccer together. Marco then worked for someone else. He could not make soccer practices and sometimes couldn't even make soccer games. just in order to meet his quota. He did go into business for himself. He is, this is his livelihood, has been for several years. I have been to the property. He has done very many renovations. He has put a block wall entirely around this area. He has roller gates that are solid steel, so you cannot see in or out of the complex. I've been there many, many times. I have two daughters. We bring all our vehicles there. I have never seen anything that the neighbor was talking about earlier. You cannot see it. I encourage you to get some video or pictures, but that's all I have to say.
Thank you. How many more onlines do we have?
I have 5 more.
Okay, and the reason I'm asking is I'm getting a little bit worried with the rest of our agenda items that we will lose quorum, and what that means is that some of these members have to peel off, and when we lose enough people, then we have to like end the meeting, and then all of you that came to speak for the next items we won't get to vote today. So those that are in support, I beg of you, please just hit on the issues, or in opposition, whatever, hit on it as quickly and briefly as possible, and so we can get through this case and then get to our next one. We've heard a lot of some similar concepts, so if what you're going to say is the same, please just say that. So, all right, let's shoot through them. I love to give everyone a voice, so I want to do that, but I want to be fair to those others as well.
And to that point, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'd like to stipulate that with your permission, that it's been established that Marco is a wonderful, honest businessman. I'm really more focused on hearing from neighbors as opposed to customers.
I appreciate that, Commissioner McGee. I can't stipulate that he's that. I've heard that he's that from a lot of people, but to your point, the neighbors and the to this property and how it affects those around us are what we're most interested in today. And so if there's comments about that, and the last speaker just spoke of that, that was of good value to me. All right, next speaker.
Sorry, I see that Guillermo Garza is back online, and so I have him unmuted. He was scheduled to speak earlier. Go ahead, Guillermo.
Yes, my name is Guillermo Garza, and listen up. I am the only neighbor whose property has been directly affected by Mr. Malanche's business, and he didn't respect. That property is a residential business, and he has been using it as a commercial business since 3 years ago until the present time, even if he has couple violations, and you can see pictures and everything, and whatever your clients say, that's a lie, because if you go to the property and you can check, you can take a look at, you can see, I don't have any privacy. And I request my privacy as a citizen, because all the clients and the towing trucks and all and the traffic, there is a lot of traffic. And during the last months or years, we have couple of accidents in front of his property, in front of his business property. And you should hear about the other people that we are opposed. There are more than 6 people opposed to this because all the issues that he brought to us and my neighbors. And also, there are tow trucks and delivery vehicles coming all the time, during the morning, during the evening, and us, all the people in favor. If they want to, Mr. Malanche's business or the auto repair next to your house, could be a lot of problems, and then you can oppose to this business. And I would like to say a lot of things, but at this present time, I reserve for the future.
Yeah, I can't come back to you, but so I can give you another minute if you'd like to talk about those things. And real quickly, while you think if you want to come back for one more minute, I'm going to just ask the applicant if you can just help me understand which neighbor he is on the map.
Yes, my name is
I'm going to have the applicant show me because we have a map in front of us. If you can just kind of tell me.
So he's right there.
I know that's hard. That's hard for you to say. So on the right side, and then like one of those four houses, the second one down.
The second person from the front.
Okay.
Four houses are.
All right, to the right and second person down. Okay, where the building kind of points to.
And the four houses are not theirs.
Okay. All right, perfect.
Yes.
Thank you.
They are directed to his garages.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, that it's straight across from the garage. All right, did you want to take one more minute, or are you done, or is that good for your comments?
But in case, if this permit is to be approved, we request that Mr. Malanchen must be required to install his own block wall to be minimal of 8 inches high with a wall of trees to cover. The block wall is currently installed about 10 inches in, belong to me, and is within my property boundary. And we also request that permit to be reviewed and updated every 2 years to make sure the county proposal requirements are being met.
All right, thank you for your comments.
Yes.
Next applicant? Or next, sorry.
Nadine Zepeda was
Okay.
scheduled to speak. I have her unmuted.
Ms. Zepeda, if you'll just state your name and the city you reside
There you
in.
go.
Hi. Hello, my name is Nadine Cepeda. I'm speaking in support of Marcos Auto Repair. I'm pretty much piggybacking off of everybody else who's supported. He's been a great mechanic. As a single mom, it's so hard to find somebody who's not going to gouge you. He has helped me stay on the road, and now that my kids are grown, he helps them with your car. He's always asked me to come there during reasonable business hours between 8 and 5. There's never been a whole lot of traffic or really any other customers there when I'm there. So that's all that I wanted to say. I'm definitely in support of him.
Perfect, thank you. Next.
Next is Amy Moore. Amy needs to unmute. There you go.
Hello. My name is Amy Moore. I live in Peoria, Arizona. I have used Marco for several years. Both my husband and I are Uber drivers, and we use him to keep our vehicles in service. That is our livelihood. I'm going to speak on the comments from the neighbors. The wall that they speak of being too low, she stated that somebody of 5 feet could, 5 inches could see over that wall. I'm 5'9". I cannot see into anybody's yard. I see their rooftop, but not into their home, not into their yard. When I'm there are no other customers. Marco keeps the garages closed to minimize the sound, and that's everything I have to comment. I apologize for taking time, and thank you.
Thank you. You don't have to apologize. We're glad to hear from you. All right, next person.
Jordan Mirzan is next.
Hey, can you hear me?
We can hear you. If you'll state your name and where you reside, that'd be great. City you live in?
Jordan Marston. I live at 11712 West Weir in Avondale. Previously, I was living in Verado. We've been family friends for about 15 years. My father has used his services, and so do I. My father now lives in Gold Canyon. He still comes down there and uses it. I was going to talk on Marco's character, but it sounds like you guys already got that covered. He's awesome. With regards to the neighbors and stuff, you can't see anything from the backside. If you're on Lower Buckeye Road, you can probably see more off of that main service road into those homes than you can Marco's backyard because of the wall. Any person that's concerned with privacy would not live on a main road like that, Lower Buckeye Road. I mean, that road you can take from Buckeye into Phoenix. So anybody that's concerned with privacy wouldn't live 2 seconds off of there. It also sounds like they just need to get curtains, which I'd be happy to, pitch in if it's something simple like that. Somebody that's concerned about privacy would probably have curtains on their windows. That would just make sense to me. In my opinion, Marco's living the American dream. He's doing everything right. If you're passing by that his home, it looks like an oversized garage. You wouldn't even know it wasn't even a mechanic. You would have no idea. It looks like a regular home with an oversized RV garage. Other than that, that's all I got. Thanks for hearing from me.
Thank you.
Next is Emily Braganza. Emily, you need to unmute, and then you're good. She's not. Emily's not able to respond. Cynthia Rodriguez was next.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can. Welcome.
Okay. My name is Cynthia Rodriguez, and I live in California, but Marco Melanche is my father, and I go and visit often, and I actually lived in, Arizona before I moved here. But I agree with, everyone as to, my dad's character. But I want to say that I've been, there and visited, and I actually know Mr. and Mrs. Garza's daughters, and I didn't even know that they lived next door, and I've never even seen into their home, nor is anybody really curious to see, what they're doing. That's not why we're there. I just don't think it's fair for them to say that they sold homes because of complaints. First of all, where is the proof? Where are those people complaining? And to say that they've seen the bad side of my father, just from hearing the tone of Guillermo, he also seems very angry. And, if I saw somebody taking pictures, I would also be furious, but I just, that's all I had to say, but I love you, Dad.
That's probably the right way to end. I would like that as a father. So thank you. Next one.
I've got Emily on now.
All right, Emily.
Go ahead, Emily.
Man, we got it all today. Yep, we can hear you. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, hi. Good morning. My name is Emily Braganza, and I am not a customer, but a neighbor, actually. I live behind their property. I own the 5 acres, 500, 0652 A, B, C, and D. We currently live on parcel C, and we have chickens on parcel D. I just wanted to let you guys know I don't have any problems with the noise or anything like that, because otherwise, we're directly behind and I could not hear any noise. I didn't, I can't tell if there's any mechanic work being done because I don't hear any noises. And I used to work from home 3 times a week. I used to work for the county, and I've never had any problems being on my conference calls or anything like that. Every day, my husband goes feed the chickens, and he has never told me that he has any issues with any of the noise or anything like that. I drive by the property. If I go from 165th Avenue to turn left on and go west, I've never seen anything, like anything messy, anything out of place, or even cars lined up out there. It just looks just like a regular home. And like what your gentleman said, with an oversized RV parking, like an oversized barn. And that has been in there for the longest time, actually. I mean, it looks the same way. We own the property since 1996, and we built a house there in 2007. And nothing has changed except the block wall that that the Melanches have actually put. But I am in favor of them, and I support that. Thank you.
Thank you.
The last person I have is Carrie Thibodeau. Carrie, you need to unmute.
You'll state your name and where you live, what city you live in, that'd be great.
Can you hear me?
You can.
Hi, we're going to double tag with Mrs. Thibodeau and Mr. Thibodeau. First, this is Carrie Thibodeau. I just want to say, if you guys are looking, as you guys already know, with somebody with integrity, someone who supports the community, someone that is willing to work financially in this very difficult economy, you have the right man. We have known Marco for many months, years, 24 months, 2 years. This man is your ideal mechanic. Now, when I go there, the lady that was speaking about the noise level, I can't drop my car off until Nico tells me, which is normally after 9 a.m. When it's time for me to pick up my car, and I'm telling you, you can tell in my voice, I'm very passionate. I work for a law firm, and I know Marco is doing justice for this community. So my position here is, Marco, keep up the amazing work. Keep doing what you're doing. We, the Thibodeaus, appreciate everything you're doing for this community. And to let Mr. Marco not continue his business is going to be a disservice, not only to me, but to the community that he serviced. And that is what we need. We need people like Marcos that support his community. Now I'm going to give you over to Mr. Thibodeau.
I need to understand what just happened here. So who was this that we were just hearing from for clarity?
This is Larry Thibodeau.
All right, so this is a husband-wife team here? Okay.
Husband.
All right, if you could just, just quickly hit on what you need to say, that'd be great.
Yes, this Larry Thibodeau, we in good year. I've never seen anything over the walls once I come into Mr. Marcos' vicinity. He always called me in advance and tell me that he got a spot available to his property. I always drive directly into his garage. And when I step out, there's nothing to be seen other than the walls around it. I think Mr. Marcos is a fine man, and I see no problems with his property.
Thank you. All right.
Yes, sir.
I love webinars. They're awesome. All right.
That's everyone.
That is everybody. Wow, we did it. We're going to go ahead and close public comment at this time. Actually, we're not. We're going to bring up the applicants. And thank you for being here today. Love to hear from you. And you've heard, I think we've heard how clean you have a place you keep. That's well done on that, but love to hear from you.
And just to point out, Emily, the last Emily, she lives directly south of our property.
Perfect, thank you. The one with the chickens?
The one with the chickens.
All right.
Chickens.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah. Actually, we would just like to offer if you guys have any questions or comments for us, we'd be glad to answer them. We can go back and forth on what we say and what the opposing says, but I don't think that's going to solve anything. We try to keep everything very quiet, everything between 8 and 5 business hours. That's what we've proposed in our conditions. The noise decibel isn't louder than a lawnmower. There is definitely not tow trucks coming at midnight. Maybe my daughter would be around there at midnight, but not tow trucks at all. The wall, I guess, will have to be observed in person when we have county come out and look at that. It's right on the property line. It's not 10 inches onto his property line. I have a picture in the handout for you guys to view as well. Obviously, there's civil matters between the Garza family and us that I've also included as well. But I don't want to go back on he said, she said with that.
Appreciate that.
Any questions in regards to our permit, we'd be glad to answer them.
Yeah, that's great. I like your approach. Are there any questions for the applicant at this time?
I have one.
All right, Commissioner Swart, you are up. And I think we lost Commissioner Dan Zeisen, is that correct? Did we lose him? He's not on the screen anymore. I just wanted to point that out. Okay.
Two quick questions.
He's still on, you said? Oh, I'm sorry, he is still there. You just weren't in you're there. I'm sorry, I threw you under the bus and you're there, so. All right, Commissioner Swart, you're up.
Two quick things. Why didn't you file this case 3 years ago as it relates to this being a commercial use? And secondly, why would you want to have this surrounded by a neighborhood?
We didn't apply 3 years ago because we didn't have an issue 3 years ago. All of our neighbors never had a problem with it. We didn't have and we were actually friendly with the Garza family until the wall dispute is when immediately our code violations began with the Garza family. So we weren't offending any of the neighbors that were around us. We went around and spoke to all of the neighbors within the 300-foot boundary, even beyond further west, the neighbors that neighbor us as well. And no one had a problem with what we were doing. So we didn't seek the necessary permits at that time because we didn't feel like we were offending anybody.
And then my second question, why did you put this in a neighborhood as opposed to a commercial area?
Our hope is to, and not our hope, our goal is to maintain the look of it, to still look residential. We have the property, it's paid for. We're hoping not to invest more money into a commercial site.
The shop that was already there.
What was that you said? Could you just say it in the mic?
Shop.
The shop?
The building that was already there.
The building was there, yeah.
It was there.
He said the building was already there.
In fact, the previous owner were the Sessions, who also had an auto repair business, who were also friends with the Garza family, and then there was a wall dispute, and then they got code violations against them. So it's been an ongoing, if you don't do what one person.
Commissioner Swart, any other comments there? Are you done?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner McGee. I do have a to this point, please.
Commissioner McGee.
Was it a question of being aware that this was a business in need of a permit, or were you not aware?
No,
this entire time.
We were not
from your testimony as though you knew, but as long as it was not bothering anybody, you weren't going to go through with it.
Correct. We weren't aware until we got our first code violation that said that you could no longer do this.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for this applicant? Commissioner Arnett?
Hi. Hi. Morning.
Good morning.
My microphone. Thank you. I don't have any question that you have a lot of great customers. That's not, unfortunately, that's not the purview of what we're doing here. So we're here because there was a violation, right? We're running a business where you're not allowed to. It's a great business. So my question is, from what I've heard, would you be willing to stipulate? I heard a lot of people speak about you can't drop off at a certain time. I'm assuming you'd be willing to stipulate that, to put that within the conditions of if the commission went there? Just
already in the
conditions. Oh, good. If it is, I missed it, but okay. Because really what it comes down, then the question comes down to just, we just want to make sure we protect the neighbors. The neighbors, it shouldn't feel like a business there.
Correct.
People have suggested it doesn't. The fence is on, I see the picture. Is your fence on your lot and theirs is on theirs, or whose lot is the fence on?
It's directly on the property line, but they laid the block on the line east, and we laid our block on the line west.
And so that middle point is the property line. And how tall is that?
6 foot.
Your lot, okay. All right, that's my only clarification.
The only stipulation we did discuss is that if the Garzas want us to add 2 more feet onto that fence, we would be more than happy to add 2 more feet onto their fence. We would pay for it, put the 2 feet on that fence, no questions asked. But I mean, we feel like it's already fenced enough, but.
We'll see what the commission thinks, but at least that way they couldn't peek over anymore according to the reports that I read through.
According to the Garza family.
Anyway, thank you very much. No further questions.
Thank you. Any other questions? Comments? All right, thank you.
Chairman Blum?
Oh, yes, Commissioner Mitchell.
Thank you for your presentation today. Just a question again on the wall. Does it go the entire length of the eastern boundary, or does it kind of stop near where the home is on the northern part of the boundary? The wall on the east side?
The wall on the east side goes from the northern boundary all the way to the southern boundary of our property line.
Okay, so it goes along the parcel the entire side?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, if there's no other questions, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll close the public comment portion and open this up for discussion amongst the commission.
I have a question for staff.
Go ahead, Commissioner Montoya.
Can you elaborate about why we are stipulating a special use permit that will expire in 6 years? What led to that time frame?
Thank you, Commissioner Montoya. So that was due to the previous violation and complaints that occurred. Prior to this meeting, there was some support, but not the overwhelming level of support that we saw today for this case. Staff, if the commission felt that that needed to be extended more, we would be fine with that. But based upon those previous violations and the still continuing civil matter, and because they're going to have to come back anyways at some point for the home occupation when they do relocate into the home, that's why we set it at 6 years.
Thank you. I'd like to just share that, I think that I'd like to commend, the folks that are here that are neighbors, because I live on the west side. This is my district. And I know the commute that it takes to get to downtown, and you guys are further west than where I live. So I think it really takes a commitment to support your neighbor in this instance. So I'd like to commend you. I know that for the folks that are online, sometimes it's hard to come in, and that's the only way that you can communicate. But thank you for participating. I feel comfortable with condition G, that it expires in 6 years, allowing them to be able to move back into the property and then make changes. And I'm also comfortable with the fact that we have condition H that speaks to noncompliance. If there's any noncompliance, then it could initiate a revocation of the special use permit. So I'm prepared to support this application.
Vice Chair Slosser. Who was that? We'll go to who was on the board first. Commissioner McGee.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Commissioner Slosser. I wanted to ask some clarifying questions of staff, just for the opportunity for Mr. Peck to yell at me again. We have no control over environmental. I know it was addressed in the narrative. And we also have no control over business operations per se, other than limiting time and use and setting up a violation citation going forward. Am I correct? All we are doing is approving the non-conforming use of this property via a special use permit for a auto repair shop.
Mr. Peck's going to answer that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Really would.
Commissioner McGee, I don't yell. I'm from the East. I speak loudly. A request for a special use permit is akin to asking you to rezone the property. So while you don't control specifically environmental, air quality, hours of operation, any of the business aspects, if you believe that because of those issues, locating something on the proposed property is improper, that would be why you would not change the zoning. So while you don't specifically control, for instance, if the environmental issue is septic, whether a percolation test will work, et cetera, you can use your knowledge of the area when you're deciding, is what they want to do appropriate where they want to do it, if that answers your question.
Mr. Peck, that was wonderful.
And calm.
Mr. Chairman?
Very calm. It was not with a loud voice, so.
No, he did really well.
Yeah, I thought so. Usually he does yell at you, yeah.
He does. But Mr. Chairman, to that point, and in all seriousness, this is one of those beg forgiveness as opposed to ask permission issues. And as you know, I struggle with those. And so I'm trying to figure out if there would be any other stipulations to ensure the compliance is going to be as it is stated, although it has been denied by neighbors. Or is there anything else we can do, or simply refer the complainants to the business licensing or that approach?
Is that a question to me?
That's a question to you or staff. I do have concerns, and I'm very respectful of the commissioners whose district this represents, very respectful of the work that the applicant does professionally. But I do have concerns because that's why this issue is before us, because neighbors are having a problem.
Yes, and I hear you on the beg forgiveness, ask permission side of it. I try to keep, I personally am just looking at this as a move forward, and I personally have no issues on a move forward. And really with, if I look at this and say, would I have approved it, what they were doing 3 years ago, I probably would have approved it 3 years ago, but I'll let staff answer that or whatever. But I'm getting a look by Mr. Peck. He's giving me this like weird look, but no, I'm just teasing. We like to pick on Mr. Peck. If you guys didn't notice, it's tough being the attorney in the room. All right, Mr. Cannon.
Thank you, Chairman and Commissioner McGee. So the staff thinks about those issues when we're writing the recommendations in our report, and that is why we had went with a 6-year time frame versus the 10-year time frame on that. So that, you know, if you're not, we have a lot of situations, as you correctly stated, that where they ask forgiveness later after something has been done. That is why we put the 6-year time frame in, and we'll see after that time frame. It gives us staff the ability to assess if they're being good neighbors, so to speak. We did, I want to point out again, receive several letters of support from the neighbors within 300 feet of the property, other than, of course, the Garza family that spoke in opposition. But if there was anything that the commission felt in particular was a condition, that we could certainly look at that and add that in.
All right, thank you. Mr. Schlosser.
Chairman?
Yeah, Vice Chair Schlosser, thanks for being patient. I kind of forgot about you. All right, you're up. No, it's your turn. You're up.
I've been serving on boards and commissions for 22 years now. I've been in more meetings than I ever thought or hoped. And I'm only 32 years old now, so you guys do the math. No. Anyways, in all those 22 years, in all seriousness, I've never heard any one individual be praised as much as Marco. And as far as any further stipulations, I think because of what we've heard here today, with everybody in favor, that we can trust that he's going to be respectful to the neighbors. And the neighbors have their concerns, I understand that, but he is truly an example of the community and living the American dream, and I can't vote against a guy like that. So I'm in favor of it as well. Thank you. And I lied about my age. I'm only 30.
Thank you. All right, any other comments or entertain a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve case number Z 2022086 and approve with conditions A through J as stipulated by staff recommendation.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Montoya. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, a second by Vice Chair Schlosser. We'll do a roll call vote.
Commissioner Lawrence? Commissioner Lawrence? He might have dropped off.
Yeah, I think we lost him.
Commissioner McGee?
At this time, I pass.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Swart?
No.
Commissioner Arnett?
Yes.
Commissioner Montoya?
Yes.
Commissioner Dan Zeisen?
Yes.
Vice Chair Schlosser?
Yes.
Chairman Lindblom?
I'm a yes.
Commissioner Lawrence, are you on the call? Commissioner McGee?
Respectfully to my colleagues, I have to vote no on this. Thank you.
Chairman, that is an approval by a vote of 6-2.
All right, thank you. And thank you to all that came and participated online as well. You did well. Appreciate your way of just keeping to the issues. All right, we'll move on to the next case. Regular agenda item number 12 and 13, Walden Ranch. If staff would present.
Good morning, Chairman Lindblom and members of the commission. Walden Ranch and Rancho Maria will be presented.
Correct. Sorry, it's 12, 13, 14, and 15. Is that all at the same time?
We're going to do all four.
All right, thank you.
Sure. Will be presented together. The projects are located in Supervisor District 4, located directly south of US 60 within the Whitman area. Next slide, please. The image on the left shows a site in relation to City of Surprise jurisdiction and directly south of Whitman. Surprise is located approximately a half-mile to the northeast and are also within the Surprise Municipal Planning Area, which has the land designation of neighborhood area, which accounts for suburban neighborhoods with a density of 2 to 8 dwelling units per acre. Staff notes this classification is the most common with the city and includes medium-density residential with the ability to include neighborhood and commercial uses. Walden Ranch consists of 521 acres. Directly northwest of the site is Rancho Maria with 154 acres. Staff notes both of these sites were approved by the Board of Supervisors in 2006 but remained undeveloped. Next slide, please. Walden Ranch includes a request to remove the development master plan with a comprehensive plan amendment to change the land uses within the White Tank Grand Avenue area plan to single-family transitional lot, which is 3 to 5 dwelling units per acre, and neighborhood retail. The Walden Ranch Development Master Plan, as previously stated, was approved back in 2006 with single-family residential, mixed use, commercial employment, public facility, and open space land uses. The CPA includes a proposal to change the land uses to single-family transitional lot, which is 3 to 5 dwelling units per acre, and neighborhood retail, which is shown on the right-hand side of your exhibit. Next slide. The site is currently zoned Rural 43. The zone change includes a request to R16 RUPD and C1 zoning. The zoning would account for 486 acres of residential, 35 acres of commercial, which will consist of 2 separate parcels, and a proposed 100 acres of open space. The project will include a maximum of 1,572 units at a density of 3.02 units. Next slide, please. Rancho Maria includes a request to change the approved land use designations to small lot residential from 2 to 5 dwelling units per acre and neighborhood retail. Rancho Maria was approved by the Board of Supervisors in 2006 and included neighborhood retail center, office, and small lot residential land uses. The CPA application would amend the land use designations to single lot residential and neighborhood retail. The 2 images on the left display the approved land use designations and approved zoning districts. Unlike Walden Ranch, this project acquired zoning approval with Rural 43, R17 RUPD, and C2. The owners could develop the project as is with the zoning in place, but the request alters the project to R16 RUPD and C1. The images on the right show the proposed land uses and zoning. The project would include 122 acres of residential, 32 acres of commercial, with 30 listed as open space with a maximum of 383 units with a density of 2.48. Next slide, please. The R16 RUPD zoning includes reduced front yards, rear yards with the 3 foot from the alley to garage, reduced lot area and lot width, along with increased lot coverage. The commercial zoning districts do not include a request to amend the commercial zoning district standards. Walden Ranch will provide 100 acres of open space, and Rancho Maria will provide 30 acres to include parks, community amenities, natural wash corridors, and scenic entries. Next slide, please. The applicant complied with the requirements for the citizen participation with public posting and notification. A public meeting was held in April this year to discuss the project, and they had 180 people in attendance. Staff received letters, emails, change.org petition with 1,001 electronic names, and signed petition with 762 signatures. In conjunction with that, staff received planning and zoning appeal forms prior to the P&Z hearing, which has been tallied as opposition to the applications. Staff notes that we have also received additional opposition documents, which will be provided as part of the BOS staff report. A community group called Keep Us Rural, comprised of residents from Whitman, Mobile Gardens, Whispering Ranch, and Morristown, opposed the application and potential for annexation by the City of Surprise. Concerns raised include increased traffic, water sources, annexation, impact of the BNSF intermodal hub to groundwater, and they are requesting to keep the area as rural and oppose the comprehensive plan amendments and zoning application. Walden Ranch and Rancho Maria intend to annex with the City of Surprise. A letter from the mayor supports the request and notes the city will provide services regardless of annexation if the projects remain in the county. Staff notes that traffic will be addressed as the project progresses with requirements for submittal of traffic impact studies based on the subdivision platting or planning developments for the commercial developments. Next slide, please. Shown on the screen is the original approvals of both Walden Ranch and Rancho Maria. It shows a comparison table of the approval and the requested modification. As previously stated, both of these projects have been approved by the Board of Supervisors 16 years ago with the same maximum number of residential units. These applications are to modify the original approvals. Staff notes these projects are currently closer to being developed due to ongoing discussions with the City of Surprise for annexation and/or service agreements for utilities. Walden Ranch will keep the same number of residential units at 1,572, consistent with the DMP approval. There is a slight increase of the density from 3.0 to 3.02 dwelling units within the single-family transitional 3 to 5 dwelling units per acre range. Rancho Maria will keep the same number of residential units at 383, consistent with the CPA approval. There's a slight decrease in the density from 2.54 to 2.48 within the small lot residential of 2.5 dwelling units per unit. The projects are consistent with the City of Surprise land use designation of suburban neighborhood with a density range of 2.8 dwelling units per acre. For the reasons outlined in the staff reports, staff recommends the commission motion to decommission the Walden Ranch Development Master Plan and recommend approval of the CPA as outlined in paragraph 28. Staff also recommends the commission adopt a motion recommending approval of Z 2022-040, subject to conditions A through N as outlined in paragraph 29. Staff recommends the commission motion for approval of Rancho Maria Comprehensive Plan Amendment as outlined in paragraph 29. Staff also recommends the commission adopt a motion recommending approval of Z 2022-041, subject to conditions A through P as outlined in paragraph 30. At this time, we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Applegate at this time? All right, hearing none. We'll hear from the applicant.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, board members. I'll try to be very brief this morning. I know you guys have a short time frame. William Lally with Tiffany & Bosco in Phoenix, Arizona, representing Cali companies today on the purchase of both of these properties, Walden Ranch and Rancho Maria. Rachel did a great job of comparing what was approved 15 years ago to what we're proposing today, which is almost exactly the same thing. I will highlight a few changes to the area and maybe drill in a little bit on one of the cases. If you can go to maybe slide 4, I'm going to jump past a couple things that Rachel did a great job of talking about. So slide 4 is the Walden Ranch comparison. Rachel had that up earlier, talked about how the land uses are very, very similar to what was approved previously in the DMP. Talked about the numbers of acres of commercial, office, residential. Since then, we have entered into a contract to sell a larger piece to the school district. Originally, there was 8 acres identified. That's the blue in the old DMP off to the left. Since then, we've been negotiating for the better part of a year and a half with the school district to sell them 80 acres, not 8, but 80 acres, to try to address the school district needs in a regional area, not just a small neighborhood use, but a regional area. So that's probably one of the most noteworthy changes that Rachel didn't mention, which is that we try to provide more public amenities and public services to the area while still keeping our same exact density. We're not going to have any more units. The other thing to note, I think, on Rancho Maria. So Rancho Maria was included with a zoning category of C2 and R17. We're changing it to R16, a slight decrease in unit count, but we're actually reducing the C2 to C1. I think you know C2 has a lot of very intense uses. We don't believe that some of those uses are appropriate, so we actively downzoned that parcel with this application. But probably, and I'll have you jump to the next slide, probably the biggest change in the area. Go to the next slide, please. I'm sorry, let's go to, trying to be brief.
Appreciate it.
Number 7, please. So the area to the south identifies the 2 projects adjacent to Grand Avenue. Probably the largest change in the last 15 years since the Board of Supervisors evaluated this and approved this, which was 1, the large green parcel, which was a very large master plan community approved in City of Surprise on the existing proving grounds at the time that was going to have about 17,000 homes. That was purchased by Apple to continue to be a proving grounds. So now we have 17,000 homes that were anticipated in this sub area, accounted for by City of Surprise in their water sewer master plans, taken out off of the table. Secondly is the large yellow piece of property, which, as you can see, is almost directly or across the street from these 2 projects. BNSF had a smaller facility of 700 plus acres, purchased over 4,000 acres in the last year to build a large trucking, railroad distribution center. It's been known to have 10 million square feet coming. They are actively talking about this in City of Surprise public hearings. potentially 10,000 jobs will be coming to just that one piece of property. It is unknown right now what Apple will be doing in terms of overall improvements to the proving grounds and jobs, but given the electric vehicle testing facilities that are launching and landing in Arizona, we expect that to be something more than what it is today. If you were to go straight north to Carefree Highway and a 25-minute drive west or east, you would be at the Taiwan Semiconductor plant. 25 minutes away, another 5,000 jobs. We heard yesterday the president was in town announcing a large phase 2 of that improvement. I think that's going to probably spur a lot more industrial intensity in this area. There are no other residential subdivisions that are new that are being brought through the process in this area. Most of this is state land. Most of this, even the Santa Barbara case to the north, does not have the water, the sewer, the transportation, all of the items that you need to kickstart a master plan community ready to go like these two projects. Again, you'll hear that people want this to remain rural. I think you've heard from this staff that this was never rural. This was approved by the Board of Supervisors 15 years ago for something different. So if you came in and moved into this area in the last 15 years and you didn't look at the maps to see existing zoning or DMPs that show densities of 2 to 3 DU, or you weren't paying attention to what BNSF has been talking about for the last 10 years, this area will not remain what it is today. It is changing. This existing zoning today is not an upzoning. We're not adding 2,000 more units to account for the 10,000 jobs across the street. We're staying with the exact same density, downzoning the C2 to C1 to be more compatible with the area, and honestly will be provided a very much needed housing population for this particular area. It'll cut down traffic. People traveling to these large industrial facilities do not need to travel from outside the area. They can drive across the street and go to their job. So with that, Mr. Chairman, we've got a lot of slides. I know it's been a long day. Be happy to reserve some time for afterwards. I know you'll hear from some folks, but certainly answer any questions that you have as well.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll reserve that time. I only have 6 cards here. If there's individuals here that wish to speak that didn't fill these out, please come up and see Rosalie and do that. How many individuals are online?
I'm aware of one online.
Okay, thank you. So we'll go with those in person first and then online second. Yeah, you just have to fill those out. The first individual we'll have come up is Gary. It said you're in opposition, you don't want to speak. Is that correct? Correct. Okay, thank you. I didn't forget you. All right, perfect. Thank you for being here. Heather Abadi. Again, we're trying to hold these to just a couple minutes, comments.
Hi, my name is Heather Abadi, and I own a piece of property in Whitman. The people that stand before you are residents that came here from Whitman, that represent Whitman, and that are against any rezoning whatsoever. We want to remain rural, R43. The developers have been very irresponsible to change the rezoning due to traffic, water, and any infrastructure in the studies of these areas. The Whitman residents voted down on the Nattaburg school bond. The people do not want Whitman to grow. The reason why they don't want Whitman to grow is because we are a rural area. Over 1,700 signatures have been submitted to Rachel Applegate and Mr. Clint Beckman. Thank you. With that being said, you have enough people that have voiced their opinion wanting to remain rural as no curbside appeal. Curbside appeal is surprise. Everything that you saw in that PowerPoint is all surprise. And I know none of you live in Whitman, nor have you even passed through there unless you go to Wickenburg. If they build 2,000 homes, you have to imagine there's going to be at least 1 child per house. So that's an additional 2,000 children that will attend Nattaburg School District. With that being said, who is going to build the additional or larger elementary school? And where is the money going to come from to allocate those educational expenses that need to be given to these children? Natterburg is already overcrowded. They are maxed out. The elementary school is maxed out. They have 160 students. They actually have 270 right now. They have moved offices and closet space just for learning spaces alone. The developers are tapping into the aquifer with a permit that is dated to 2005. That's almost 20 years ago. And they're still bringing this up. Yes, it was tabled and it was brought up again in 2006. I mean, we're walking right into 2023 now. The rural area consists of animals from cows to cattle to the little critters. You have ranchers that are there. If people want to move to Whitman, they want to be rural. They do not want the surprise neighborhood. They do not want the curbside appeal to come here and to bring the small mini markets or whatever.
Please wrap up your comments.
Scottsdale will be cutting off the water in Rio Verde on the beginning of the year. We're already losing 21% of the Colorado River. What I have to say to you is, if I was your daughter or if I was your sister, what advice would you give me at this point? I'm a single parent with 2 children, and this is all I have. This is all I have to offer my family. And before you, you have some of the town. It's very disappointing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thomas Cadian?
Yeah, I live in Whitman. I'm just south of the Walden Ranch.
If you'll just say your full name too.
Sure, my full name, Tom Cadian. I live in Whitman. I'm just south of the Walden Ranch. If I wanted to live in Surprise, I would have moved to Surprise. I do not want Surprise to move and be my neighbor. That's all I have.
Thank you. Tracy Salgado?
Hi, my name is Dr. Tracy Windorf Salgado, and I'm here in strong opposition to this movement. I have to say, from 2 reasons I'm opposed. One, personally, I am currently living my dream, living in Whitman. I moved here from Wisconsin a few years ago with the dream of having a small little ranch that I could provide for my family and have all the fun in the world as I got into my retirement years. So here I am living this. I did check into what was going on around me, and I made the choice to move to Whitman because it was affordable. I didn't want to live in the valley, couldn't have all the things I wanted. I know what I got into, but what I understood too is that this is not a done deal. That's why I'm here today. I'm here to say, no, we're all here to fight it. But that's a personal reason for opposition. A practical reason for opposition is that we're Keep Us Rural, we're an LLC, and Maricopa County and Surprise has not yet given us any sort of quantifiable data that talks about the benefits to Whitman of these 2 areas. We can talk all day long about it's going to, be great for Surprise and all the tax money that's going to come out of it, but how is it going to benefit us there living now in our rural lives? All of that's going to be taken away. Our dreams are gone. Everything's gone. We get nothing. So I would ask the City of Surprise in Maricopa County to submit to us all of the quantifiable data that is showing the impact of growth and how it's going to affect the quality of life, how it's going, any effect that will likely change anticipated growth, any undue decline of quality of life, how it's going to impact existing quality of life, and factual basis for why the actions are likely to produce the benefits claimed. And when it talks about quality of life, I'm talking about the rural part of Whitman. That's the quality of life. How is this going to impact our ruralness? What's the benefits? What's the cost to us who are currently living there and trying to fight this?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sharon Artelli? Yeah.
I would like to keep Whitman rural.
for a lot of reasons, not just because I live there and have horses, but you know, Whitman has a pretty strong winter population. A lot of people come here from other places, they're ropers, or they're just wintering here, and there's a lot of places, there's a lot of traffic out there from these people, and that's fine because they're a part of it. So I would like to keep it rural for that. I would like to keep it rural for myself, and it offends me that someone said, well, you didn't look into something 15 years ago. I don't know what he's talking about. That is highly offensive that he would say such a thing. You have to go to Whitman so you can go look at Crozier Road where this is proposed. You're going to ask yourself, how in the world, if you come from Surprise, and a lot of people have to work in town, how in the world are 2,000 more people going to go through Bell and 163rd and Grand and the 303? How is that going to happen? Right now, it can take you up to 25 minutes just to go through 3 lights that are just hardly a block apart. They're not very far at all, but we're going to put more houses there. And for them to say that, well, this is Surprise up there and there's no more houses, are you kidding me? There's houses right in there. There's brand new communities. In fact, I'm wondering how in the world all those people, when they buy those houses, are going to come through Grand, the 303, and 163rd Avenue. It's going to take forever for anyone to ever get home. So no one has addressed that issue, yet they want to put more homes there. As far as keeping it rural goes, yeah, we kind of like it because we don't have a lot of neighbors and all that, but you know what? They're coming on their 1.25 acre lots, and that's okay that they do that because that's what we have to do is grow. But for these builders to think that something they did in 2006 applies today, are you kidding? People aren't even alive today that were alive in 2006 and thought that'd be okay. So I would like to ask you, before you give them any kind of approval on anything, y'all come out there and see where we live. See how we live.
Thank you.
We love it.
Thank you. Yeah, could you state your name? Sorry. In the mic. I'll say it. So it's
Teacher, are you kidding me?
Sharon yeah.
I taught 6th grade. Sharon Acratelli, A-C-R-I-T-E-L-L-I, 22205 West Blue Sky Drive in Whitman.
Thank you. We tend to not clap and cheer because it gets so out of hand in here sometimes, but you guys are being all right. Lori Hendershot.
Good morning. I think it's still morning. My name is Lori Hendershot. I am a resident of Whitman. I am speaking here for the Whitman community. We do not want Whitman to become a city with the development of Walden Ranch, Rancho Maria. I have a copy of all 1,709 signed petitions of our community, not wanting any rezoning and to keep us rural. Rural development is what we are zoned for, and building on 1 acre or more is fine for us. As you know, Arizona and surrounding states are in a severe drought. Where is all the water for these developments going to come from? The aquifer will eventually run dry, and the Colorado River has usage restrictions, and the reservoirs are low too. These developments are planning on putting in a sewer system and the infrastructure. The sewer plant plans on pumping the refined water back into the aquifer, which will pollute our clean water and wells. The refined water does not remove the chemicals from prescription drugs, which is so dangerous for everyone. Our leach fields will not pollute the aquifer. The developments are planning to have Whitman annexed into Surprise. We have sent notarized no annex forms by our community to all the surrounding cities. They know we do not want annexed. Our schools are overcrowded now. What is planned for the children and their education? Even though a sign just went up that land was purchased since I wrote this. Our traffic is getting really bad. It's already had several accidents with some severe injuries and a few fatalities. How is this going to get better and safe with all this development? Surprise and Buckeye already have annexed state land to develop more of their city. Please send a disapproval of rezoning our land for the developments to the Board of Supervisors. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we wish you for, happy holidays.
Thank
I
you.
did put a picture of my husband driving with the traffic caught at the bridge at the 303. And just shows the severe drought that we're in.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you providing that. Nora Hodges. If you'll state your name and city you reside in.
Hi, I'm Nora Hodges, and I live in Whitman, which is not a city. And I've lived over there for over 20 years. And I will tell you, I was there for all of the meetings on Walden Ranch way back. I've been here a long time, and we opposed it back then also, even though it was approved by the Board of Supervisors. So please don't try and tell us this is something we didn't look into. People that have been out there know. So as you can tell, I'm in opposition to this rezoning from R43 to 3 zoning. It is just not appropriate for this area if you've ever been out there. This area is already saturated with hundreds of acre-plus properties that have already been built out by people with their hard-earned money for their dreams, as you've heard. There's horse ranches, there's cattle, there's chickens, there's little farmettes. This doesn't fit. This is like taking the Biltmore area or maybe your nice area of North Scottsdale and maybe clearing a few acres and plopping in a big farm there. How would those residents feel? This is our Biltmore, and this just isn't right for our area. As you've heard, there's been hundreds over thousands of petitions, and there's many reasons, as stated, the water, traffic, and crime. I want to add to the traffic. Years ago, around 2005, Desert Oasis Asante was built on the opposite side of Grand Avenue. Those developers promised the city a surprise that as they were being built out, they were going to put a road, put Jomex through with an overpass onto Grand Avenue to alleviate the traffic problems down at 163 and Grand. This was even before the 303 was finished back then. Guess what? That still hasn't happened. And now there's more new housing developments on the west side of Grand on Deer Valley, and now the newest one off of Happy Valley, which is right at the edge of the Ox One airstrip. Nothing's in ADOT's plan for the next 5 years to fix these problems. It is a problem. How are we to believe that this is going to be fixed for us? Right now at Patton and Crozier, which is at the south end of these developments, if there's an incident there, you can't go home for hours. You're stuck. So it's just not right for many reasons. And I just want to add that this is also at the north end, on the north side of the Ox One accident protection zone, where they're going to put thousands of houses. The jets fly everywhere, not just over the accident protection zone. I can't
please wrap up.
I am right now.
All right, thank you.
I can't put a bathroom or a wash tub in my detached garage because I'm in the accident protection zone by a couple blocks, yet you're telling me you can put a couple thousand bathrooms just a few blocks away where a jet could go down anywhere? This is wrong. Last but not least, surprise planning for our area is like taxation without representation. It is wrong.
Thank you.
And thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, we'll go to the webinar. I believe we had one on there.
There's actually two.
All right, we have two.
First person is Drew Lawrence.
If you'll state your name and place of residence.
Drew is unmuted. He should be able to speak.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please state your name and we'll go from there, where you live.
My name's Drew Lawrence. I've been a resident of Whitman and for 15 years, and am a native Arizonan, born in '54, Good Samaritan. I went to Brophy, and I know Mr. Crowley's a good man with his company. The problem is the infrastructure from Whitman on Grand Avenue needs to be addressed before you put any number of folks in this area. There's nothing wrong. What's wrong with R43, 1 house per acre? It works pretty well. Builders out here are buying 5 acres and building 4 houses. Plenty of room, keeping it rural. Right now on Grand Avenue, the deaths, who's been out here? I know at least one board member, maybe Mr. Hickman visited our area, probably not. But Center Street and Grand Avenue, I had a 13-year-old girl in my lap dying from a semi truck running that light. I have to wait 5 seconds. I count 5 alligators before I even proceed through that intersection when the light changes. That's right now. Let's add a bunch of houses and a bunch more developments and put 4 houses on an acre. That's just too much. I don't think the area can sustain that kind of number right now, even though it's not that. Right now, I'm saying eventually it could, but issues have to be addressed. That's, it just has a little bit of taste of greed to it, to me. That's all I've got to say. Keep it rural.
Thank you. Next speaker.
I have Tom McLeod. Tom, you need to unmute so you can speak.
Hi, my name is Tom McLeod. I live in Whitman. I've lived out here almost 10 years. For me to leave my home, I would drive right by Rancho Maria and Walden Ranch. I have to go down the corner of Lone Mountain and Crozier, and then you turn to go down to Center Street to hit the 60. And I know you guys can't go look at every site that you're trying to approve, but if you actually came out here and looked, you would see how bad the infrastructure is for roads and for safety. So I guess my perspective is a little bit personal, but I can't imagine trying to drive through all of that when there's thousands of homes there, when right now it's not great. And, in terms of keeping it rural, the idea that you would change all of these to from 1 acre to multiple homes per acre, if you drove out here, you would see that this is a place where everybody has acres. I have a 2.5 acres. I'm less than a mile from that intersection of Lone Mountain and Crozier. And all the homes around there are on acre or bigger lots. This is just like plopping a high-density neighborhood in the middle of the country. So anyway, I just would hope that you would take into account how the residents feel. And you saw how many people are opposed to it, virtually everyone. I attended the meeting that the developer did in the spring, and there was hundreds of people there, no one in favor of it. So the entire community is against this. And I know that development is good, but please take into account the people out here, not just the developers. So thank you for letting me talk.
Thank you for your time, comments.
Sure. Chairman, I have 2 more late additions.
Okay.
Want to speak?
Yeah.
Lori Peterson is the first.
All right. Please be as brief as you can. We're going to lose our quorum if we don't. So, and then that means we all get to come back and do this again. So be brief. If it's been said, you can say that.
So I'm in office. So I'm Lori Peterson. I live in Whitman, Arizona, 259th Avenue. And I'm in opposition, and I agree to what's been said. We are on a water well, and so I do worry. I mean, the developers, the development, they can go deeper. They can go into our aquifer farther than we can. And so I am worried about all those people, all of us on water wells losing our water service, and that would be detrimental to our lives. Thank you.
Thank you.
Austin Smith is our last one. Go ahead, Austin.
Hi, can you hear me well? My name is Austin Smith. I am the state representative-elect for Legislative District 29. I am a resident of Whitman, Arizona, and I have been for almost a dozen years now. And I want to thank the residents of Whitman going down to the commissioners today. And I'm standing with you. Whitman is different than from what it was 15 years ago. I'm a rancher. I have cattle in my backyard. I grew up in the area, and I appreciate growth, and growth is a good thing for the jobs and for the economy, but the infrastructure is just not there at the moment. And I would hope the commissioners consider going out to Whitman and seeing the area where we live and why we live out there. And I can just tell you from personal experience that the people that live in Whitman are great people. And they want to be able to live a life that they came out there and they've worked hard. They put their life savings into buying property, having animals, being ranchers, being very rural. And these folks are the heart and soul of rural Arizona and rural Maricopa County, and they deserve a fair shake in this process. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative-elect. Good luck down at the Capitol. That's going to be fun, I'm sure. Senator Brophy McGee's going back to therapy just thinking about it. So, all right. Any others that have come on?
That's all I have.
All right, thank you. We'll go ahead and turn time back over to the applicant to address some of the things that were talked about.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, and I'll be super brief. I know a few of you have to leave. If we could go to slide 14. There have been talked about a concept of keep everything rural in the area. Again, reiterate the fact that Rancho Maria has been R17 zoning for 15 years. If you go to slide 14, what you'll see is historical non-city of surprise subdivisions, Maricopa County subdivisions that have been approved and people live in, 3 separate subdivisions out in this particular area. So this slide shows you the red parcels are Walden Ranch and Rancho Maria. The green, the black, and the yellow are county subdivisions that have been platted for many, many, many years. Guess what the zoning is? Exactly what we're asking for today, R16. That's exactly what the zoning is. If you look at the yellow one to the north, that's R5. That's actually a higher density zoning than what we're asking for. So I understand there is rural lifestyle, there are rural lots, but it's not the entire thing out there. To say keep it rural is ignoring the fact that there's been 3 subdivisions out there approved in Maricopa County. Now, they've been there for a long time, approved prior to your group and many groups before you, but that has existed for many, many years. R16 and R5 zoning in unincorporated Maricopa County has existed in this particular area for many, many years. I have a lot of answers on infrastructure that's all been planned out, letters of support from the city to say they'll provide it. Again, I'll leave you with this. If you don't provide the housings across from 10,000 new jobs, where do you think those employees are going to come from? Outside the area and clog up Grand and the 303 or elsewhere and provide more traffic congestion as opposed to providing housing literally across the street. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Yeah, we don't get into crosstalk in this room, please. Thank you. Any questions from the commission to the applicant? Thank you, Mr. Lally. Appreciate it. We'll close public comment and open this up for discussion amongst the commission.
Mr. Chairman, I guess I'll start.
Thank you. I think we're a
long day. Earlier, I joked on the Marcos auto repair case that I've been serving on these boards and commissions for 22 years. And I wasn't joking about that, but I guess my point being, I grew up in Southwest Phoenix and was on the village planning committee back then, started in 2000. And the same thing occurred there is now occurring in this area. And fortunately or unfortunately, the reality is we all live, regardless of the municipality or if you're in the county, we all live in the circumference of the city of Phoenix, which is the sixth largest city in the nation. And with all of these new employees coming, us as a commission and with representing the county, at some point with all of these new employees coming, they have to have a place for housing. So I appreciate everybody's concern and showing up. It's not easy getting down here, But growth is growth. I think someone even in opposition had spoke about that growth's going to happen one way or another. So I do appreciate, and I know everybody else does on this commission, everybody's input. So that's the gist of it.
Other
I'd
comments?
like to add that my family came to the original Square Mile of Surprise in the late 50s when it was 1,500. We've seen nothing but growth. I have family in Whitman that have been there since the mid-60s, early 70s, when it was first being established. I understand your concern about growth, but we are the 5th largest city in the United States, and everywhere we go, there is growth, and there's only going to be continued growth, and it will extend way beyond Whitman in the future years to come. So I'm prepared to support this application.
Mr. Chairman, I had something to add, if that's okay.
Yes, Commissioner Dan Zeisen.
I just wanted to kind of add on to what the other commissioners were saying. My family's been pushed out of rural areas 2 times now, and I'm very sympathetic to the people in the room there, but I have come to the realization that we are in a state where people want to live, and that's a good thing. And these are the types of decisions that are not easy. But again, I will be supporting this because it is part of what we're dealing with and being in a state that people want to live in. So that's all I had to add.
Thank you. Commissioner Arnett.
I'll just share my thoughts because so many of you are here today. This is important. I don't think we do. There's not going to be an answer for me or anyone else here that keep it rural. I don't know how to do that, right? Unless you control that land. This is a planning process, and I appreciate the comments that were made. I made some notes here because the things that we look at. You know, we weren't even here when this was approved originally, so they can do by right what we're arguing they can't do now. We're just going to do it more updated so that the traffic is taken care of and the planning's taken care of. So planning's a messy business. But if we want to have schools, if we want to have better traffic, if we want to have better water, we go through the planning process. Now, we cannot do that, but we can't force whoever this landowner is today or in the future to grow however they want, and because what happens is through this process, they exact certain things that I wrote down. There's 100 acres of open space that will only exist through this process. Now, we don't look at that because that's not part of what we're saying, but there will be improved roads, there will be improved so many things because of the planning process. So I'm just looking at how this makes it a safer place. Having said that, I think every single person on this commission will tell a story about the houses we grew up in. In fact, my parents still have horse rights, and we're surrounded by that, and I used to look across the field to the high school, and good or bad, that's not our job here. So it's difficult. I appreciate the planning process, and they've addressed some concerns that I have as it relates to traffic and as it relates to not increasing the currently done. So, you know, those are my thoughts.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Vice Chair Slosser.
Unless you have any further comments from the commission, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Hearing no other comments, I'm prepared for that.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve CPA 2022-001 as presented.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Slosser for CPA 2022-001 and a second by Commissioner Montoya. So we'll do a roll call vote.
Commissioner McGee?
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Swart?
We've lost Commissioner Swart, I think.
Commissioner Arnett?
Yes.
Commissioner Montoya?
Yes.
Commissioner Dan Zeisen,
Yes.
Vice Chair Slasher,
Yes.
Chairman Limblom.
Yes.
Chairman, that's an approval by a vote of 7-0.
All right. And then we have to approach each of these separate. There's 4 total, correct?
Mr. Chairman?
One house per acre.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, we still have 3 more cases for a
I'd
motion.
like to make a motion to approve case C 2022-040 as presented.
All right,
Second that motion.
we have a motion by Vice Chair Slosser for Z 2022-041 and a second by Commissioner Montoya. Roll call vote.
Commissioner McGee,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Arnett,
Yes.
Commissioner Montoya,
Yes.
Commissioner Dan Zeisen,
Yes.
Vice Chair Slasher,
Yes.
Chairman Limblom.
Yes.
Chairman, that's an approval by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you. We'll now do 22.
Mr. Chairman? I'd like to make a motion to approve CPA 2022-002.
All right, we have a motion by Vice Chair Slosser for CPA
Second.
2022-002 and a second by Commissioner Montoya. Do a roll call vote.
Commissioner McGee,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Arnett,
Yes.
Commissioner Montoya,
Yes.
Commissioner Dan Zeisen,
Yes.
Vice Chair Slasher,
Yes.
Chairman Limblom.
Yes.
Chairman, that's an approval by a vote of 7-0.
And finally, the last one.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve case Z 2022-041.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Slosser. Do I have a second? And a second by Commissioner Montoya. We'll do a roll call vote.
Commissioner McGee,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Swart, Commissioner Arnett,
Yes.
Commissioner Montoya,
Yes.
Commissioner Dan Zeisen,
Yes.
Vice Chair Slasher,
Yes.
Chairman Limblom.
Yes.
Chairman, that's an approval by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you. And later today, I get to speak to a group in the East Valley about growth and how you can you have growth and quality of life. And I speak at that, and I put a lot of thought to it for a while. And it takes a lot of leadership from the community to, as people come into your community that you don't get to choose, and try to maintain your culture and way of life. And it doesn't go past me what you came here to do today. You're truly leaders in your community, and being one that grew up in Gilbert when there was 12,000 people, I certainly feel what you feel. And you've got to work hard to maintain the community and quality of your of where you live. And so I'm thankful for each of you. Unfortunately, some growth does happen in our communities, and that's a good thing too. It's different. So I just wanted to add those comments. Any other matters for this board? If not, we'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, there's that.